Good evening, YouTube. It's Leo Alderpold. This video comes as a bit of an apology, really, to a few people, a few followers, particularly of my Instagram channel, and a couple of other very special people. I haven't done a video in a little while. I intended to a couple of weeks ago, but I'll get to that story in a moment. I'll just get the housekeeping. I'm smoking in the beautiful Benny Thompson Rhodesian that was gifted to me by Wolfgang Vogie 73 a little while ago. Some dark strong Kentucky, and this is actually I think it's Peter Heinrichs in Germany that makes this version. It's the same basically as Orlik DSK. It's exactly the same thing, and it's fantastic. So followers on my Instagram channel will know that a couple of weeks ago I set off on a bit of a road trip, really just to go and see a friend of mine for a couple of days up in the county of Wiltshire. And I had intended, while I was doing that little bit of a weekend away, to do an interesting video on a couple of the ancient sites that are in Wiltshire. I was going to be stopping by Stonehenge and a couple of the old barrows, and talk a little bit about the chalklands and geology of Wiltshire and how it came to be. Well, unfortunately, the traffic that particular day was a nightmare. It took me about 6 hours to do a journey that usually takes me, maybe 3 if I'm trickling along slowly and going the long way. But unfortunately, I caught the end of half term, and I was mostly stuck in traffic all that time. Then, when I got to my buddy's place up in Wiltshire, I arrived late. I was camping in a bit of woodland out back of his house, about a half a mile away or so. So I got myself set up pretty quickly after arriving, immediately with my tent, my tarpaulin and hammock and everything else, and then we started drinking. So I did record a couple of videos while I was out in the woods, but I tell you, I was in a bit of a mess, so I didn't upload them. We had an absolute blast of a night, absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it meant that, I'm just grateful I'd had the foresight to put my hammock and tarp up first, because later that night, after, drinking a lot of gin, and then 2 bottles of Sizer, that's a wine bottle size of Sizer between the two of us, which is Sizer, by the way, if you don't know, it's mead, but it's brewed with apple juice, using apple juice instead of water. My buddy that I go and stay with keeps bees, so he gets a lot of honey, and most of what he does with it is make mead or this Sizer. Well, it wouldn't have taken an expert tracker to have followed my journey from the back door of his house across the fields and into the woodland where I'd pitched up for the weekend, because there were a number of patches in the long grass where evidently I'd fallen over and been unable to get up again, and certainly judging by the by the stinging nettle stings and everything else on my arms, bramble scratches and everything else, I'm not entirely certain that I didn't actually just crawl to my hammock through that half mile or so of long grass and stinging nettles and brambles and things. So unfortunately, you guys didn't get that video, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, So first of all, apologies to my to followers of my Instagram channel that I didn't bring you that. But there was a good reason, and we had a great weekend anyway. Secondly, I wanted to apologise to a couple of my buddies, lurker buddies, who have emailed me recently, and it's taken me a little while to get back to you folks. So my apologies for that. I have had a very, very busy time here recently. I've handed in my notice at work. I'm kind of wrapping things up here in the UK. I've got another couple of months left until I move to Papua New Guinea. That's not going to be until the end of September. But I'm finishing work the end of August, and I have a shed load of work to do between now and then. So I really haven't had a great deal of time to kill during the days much, and my weekends have been pretty full for a little while as well. Drinking a rather good cognac, by the way. Cheers, good health and all that. And it pairs very well with this dark strong Kentucky, I have to say. But mostly I wanted to apologise to Wolfgang because I said a couple of months ago that I would definitely come and make a visit to Flensburg in northern Germany before I left for Papua New Guinea. And unfortunately, through one reason or another, it just doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that, unfortunately. I've had a lot of things to shell out a lot of money for recently, what with vaccinations and visa, police checks, health checks, equipment to take with me, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just sort of the cost of actually getting on the plane in the first place is just increasing. And also, I promised my other half that we would go and spend a long weekend away, hopefully, maybe just take a cheap flight out to somewhere like Prague or somewhere like that, where we can get a couple of days break away for very little money. So, Wolfgang, Volgi73, my sincerest apologies to you, my friend. I'm not particularly happy about the fact that I can't get over to see you. I'm very unhappy about it, in fact. And I did say I'd come and see you, but unfortunately, I just can't do it before I go, I don't think. With work commitments and everything else, I unfortunately don't see it happening. But that said, when I get to where I'm going, I will be able to take holidays, and I will be coming back to Europe, maybe once in the year or something, like once or twice in the year or something like that. So I will very much be aiming to come and see you when I do one of my visits back to Europe. Just fantastic tobacco, really good. It's the first time I've actually had the opportunity in a while to sit down on my own, smoke a pipe in the comfort of my back room here, have a little drink, and just wind down. The good news is I had great news today with regards to a couple of things. All of my health checks came back fine, absolutely great, in fact. I've been offered the opportunity basically to take a career break from the job that I'm doing at the moment, so if the worst comes to the worst, I'll still effectively have a job to come back to here in the UK if the political situation in PNG is so volatile or disruptive that I have to leave there for any reason. So So I'm not going to be destitute, so that's pretty good news. And one of the wonderful bits of news I had today, I do have I do forgive me, I've forgotten who it was that I had this conversation with recently, follower on my channel here. We were talking about cholesterol. Well, fortunately, I've just found out my cholesterol is below the national average, which is great. And not only that, but I have a good balance with HDL cholesterol being significantly higher than LDL cholesterol. So I'm in much better shape than I thought, which is rather good news. So all that remains now is for me to get my police checks back, have my work permit granted. I'll have to go to London, most likely one of these days, to go and visit the embassy there to get my visa stamped and all of the rest of it from the ambassador there, because you can't get a visa online, not from England anyway, for Papua New Guinea. I've pretty much gotten all the equipment together I need, more or less. A few more bits and pieces to get, but I'm pretty much there. I'm planning on quite a few expeditions out into the rainforest, out into the jungle, not least to go looking for plants, amongst many other things besides. And I'm pretty much set to go. Just have to get myself through the next couple of months of what's becoming a very frustrating job that I'm doing at the moment, and then we'll be there. So there you go. Less talking, more smoking. So that's it, really. It was just a video to send a few apologies to people for having been pretty slack one way or another, and not being able to get back to people or fulfill hopes that I'd had to go and see good friends. Well, I'm hoping to be able to bring you a bit of a more interesting video this weekend than this one, because I have a day free this weekend, which is great. So hopefully I'll bring you a bit of interesting content from somewhere a bit more exciting than my room here. And in the meantime, I hope you guys are all doing excellently. I very much appreciate the emails, comments, and the chit chat that we have on other forms of social media. And I look very much forward to catching up with you all again soon, hopefully, as I say, in a better location than this. In the meantime, much love to you all, and I will see you all again very soon. Take care.